you've had an interesting few days, Matthew.
Yes.
In regard to Rachel Reeves and her position. Your Twitter has been exploding.
Yes, I annoyed quite a few people yesterday. So I was hearing a couple of rumours from people in Parliament that there was a bit of an ultimatum being put to Labour. Obviously, everyone knows about Rachel from Accounts and everything she's been getting on with her CV. And I was told yesterday that she's been given a bit of an ultimatum over the weekend. Come up with a statement to go to the House and clear it all up, get all the laundry out, and then we can move on from this story. Or start the process to resign and go, and we'll appoint a new person and things like that next week. So certainly,
is that a credible rumour you've heard?
This is the thing. So I decided to post it yesterday with obviously the famous words of "I'm hearing that," and oh my God, it exploded. My phone is already nearly melted down on battery due because it's just ridiculous. So we'll see what happens over the next few days.
Do you think she should go? I mean,
I think so.
Really?
Yes, no, because it's more than just it's more than just the CV. It's everything. All the promises before the election. Gone. Everything in the manifesto, gone. Everything that Labour said they stood for, gone. I'm sorry, but the British public were lied to at the election, and the buck's got to stop with someone. If it's not going to be Keir Starmer, the next person's Rachel Reeves.
Simon Danchik, you don't honestly think that Rachel Reeves is going to stop being Chancellor, do you?
Not in the short term, I don't think so. She's riding this one out, isn't she? No doubt about that. But it is an issue for her, and she's, you know, been accused of plagiarising one of the books that she wrote, and then we've got this whole episode.
She seems to keep blaming other people. I don't know if you've noticed this, Simon. She said on the book, for example, she had researchers on the book, and with a CV, apparently it's a staff member who changed the LinkedIn profile. She doesn't seem to take responsibility for the actions of her staff, and of course those staff can't fight back openly anyway. And what I found, I was in government for 3.5 years. Don't slag off the civil servants, because they will come for you.
I agree, and that's not a good look, is it? That in many respects, that's a worse look than creating a dodgy CV. Throwing the staff under the bus is never a good look, and she'll get criticised for that. And many of her colleagues in the Labour cabinet won't be happy with all these episodes of mishap. So no, I think she's okay for the short term, but it's certainly damaged her. There's no doubt about that. She will have had ambitions to become leader at some stage, but they're significantly damaged by this.
Where do you think Starmer is at the moment? We've been talking about the international elements of this, with Ukraine, for example, the Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom saying that you know, the UK is now directly involved. Simon, what do you assess about Starmer's position in all of this?
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. He's been quite hawkish in terms of Ukraine, but and he probably thinks he's taking public opinion with him. I think the general British public have been in favour of supporting Ukraine, but I also think that opinion can turn quite quickly. And you know, the war has been going on for quite some time now. There's no doubt about it that using British missiles does place Britain in the centre of the conflict. And I can imagine public opinion quickly turning to a point not dissimilar to that of Donald Trump, which is, this war has gone on too long. We need to start now bringing it to a conclusion. And I can imagine the British public getting to that position.
I think a lot of them are, to be honest, and already I think I'm in that position where I heard at the budget, I just rolled my eyes when I heard, you know, we're giving them £3 billion a year and will do for as long as we need to. And I just wonder, Andy, whether that's actually the best course of action, because Trump's course of action saying we need to end the Ukraine war for everybody's sake, for the Ukrainian sake, for the Russian sake, for the West's sake. I mean, to me, that seems like a more sensible course of action to actually say, okay, not just indefinitely throw money at this, but how does this end? Because wars end.
Yeah, no, so what Ukraine have been saying is all the promises that the West have given, please just give it to us now. Because I was reading the other day that actually there's something like a 6-month delay between when a promise is made and when actually the stuff arrives in Ukraine and they can start using it. So that's the first thing. You know, this whole thing could have been over a lot quicker if we'd all got the stuff that we'd all promised and pledged, you know, over there quicker.
Putin's calculation as well was that it was going to be a lot of, it was over a lot sooner than it was anyway.
But also, this is all just talk from Russia. This is all talk from Russia. You know, we're not in a direct conflict with them. That's not how the laws of international war work. Russian rhetoric can say whatever it wants. We're going to keep going as we are, as you've said. You know, despite the budget here taking, you know, tax rises for everybody, because, you know, we can then send it out to Ukraine. It is right that we support Ukraine because Russia cannot win this war. It will be interesting to see what happens in a couple of months' time when Trump takes office and promised to get this done within 24 hours. Is that true, or was that just another promise at elections that's going to be broken? We'll wait and see.
Stuart has been in touch on WhatsApp messages and says Rachel Reeves is a liar regarding her CV. She cannot blame junior staff because she said it herself at the dispatch box. Penny in Essex says when Rachel Reeves comes onto the television with that smug, self-satisfied smirk on her face after turning to another channel, Starmer's just as bad. They should be locked up for what they're doing, says Penny. We have a voice note as well, first one of the day. You can send these in on 0344 499 1000, just as the way you send a voice note to anybody else. This is from Claire on Rachel Reeves' CV. This is what Claire has to say.
Morning, Peter. Great show. Why does anyone now need to be truthful about what they put on their CV, let alone put in your CV for consideration? Maybe they'll have to stop it being a mandatory requirement. Rachel Reeves is in charge of our whole country's economical strategy and well-being. So anyone who argues that she should stay in a job are crazy.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Claire, and I hope that beeping sound wasn't sort of something backing into you. Do watch out. Claire, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts on that, and it's a really interesting one. Have you ever lied on your CV?
No, and I put this out on my Twitter the other day. I asked people, it's not my Twitter, it's X now. I put it out on my X.
No one calls it X.
I know. I put it out the other day asking if anybody had ever lied on their CV, because I've got a friend who's in a bit of a pickle at the moment and thinks she's an economist. No one, not a single person has gone there and said, yep, I lied on my CV about this. I owned up.
Are they going to?
No, I don't think anybody would have the guts to, but you don't. You just don't. That's the whole point of a CV, you know.
But I remember going to one thing that really annoyed me going to university doing the the UCAS form. You filled out the personal statement. The number of lies on those personal statements. People saying, "Oh, I was in the choir, I was in the play, I played football, I was in the first 15 rugby." No, you weren't.
Yeah, no, well, this is now my corner of the desk. I'll put it on my CV. This is my part of the desk now at TalkTV. My sister was doing her UCAS yesterday, and I was helping fill it in for her. Not fill it in for her, helping read it through with her.
Yes, no, helping out, being a good older mother.
I mean. Thank you very much. And I was reading through it, and I said, don't forget you did this. You know, take credit for that, for example. So I just don't... It sounds trivial that we're mocking the Chancellor of the Exchequer for, lies made on her CV, but it's the principle.
I'm an economist. I wonder what you think, Simon. Have you ever told a porcupine your CV?
No, certainly not. I couldn't do that, me. I just wouldn't be comfortable doing it and facing the consequences were I to be found out. So I do think it's quite risky. I mean, politicians are quite famous for taking risks, and perhaps I've taken other risks over time, but putting something on my CV that isn't true is just not one of them. She's playing a risky game. She has played a risky game here, and she's been caught out. There's no doubt about that.
Another situation that is changing quite a lot is the situation in Israel, and we know that the International Criminal Court, which is headed by a British human rights lawyer, has sent a warrant now, the warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu, his former defence minister, and the leader of Hamas as well. Let's talk to Matthew and indeed to Simon, our newsettes. We've got this very interesting situation today, front page of the Daily Telegraph, that Trump is threatening sanctions on the International Criminal Court, and Donald Trump considering sanctions against a British lawyer who heads it over the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. The Hague-based court, the paper says, is facing a major international backlash for its decision to issue a warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister and Yoav Gallant, the former Israeli Defence Minister. Mike Waltz, who will serve as Trump's national security advisor, said the court had no credibility and promised a strong response to its anti-Semitic bias. It's interesting as well, Sipi Hotoveli, who is the Israeli ambassador to the UK, she has called on all countries to reject the International Criminal Court's farcical order, as she puts it, to arrest Mr. Netanyahu. She's written for the paper and says, "We thank the United States and other allied countries that have rejected the farcical decision decision of the court and call upon other nations to follow suit in rejecting this injustice. The ICC has shown that every democratic leader seeking to defend its people may become a target of the court. We've reached an astonishing new low, the Israeli ambassador to the UK says, when an international court which claims to uphold international law and human rights has found common cause with a terrorist organisation that just over a year ago perpetrated the deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust on its gratuitous rampage of murder, torture, kidnapping and rape. Make no mistake, this moment has sounded the death knell of the ICC. The death knell of the International Criminal Court, Simon Danczyk?
Yeah, I think it is actually. I can't agree with the conclusion the ICC have reached, and it's another example of an international institution really becoming discredited. We've had it with the ICC now, we've had it with the European Court of Human Rights. The United Nations is challengeable on a whole range of its institutions. And I think Britain would do better to really disconnect itself from some of these institutions. America doesn't have anything to do with the ICC. The European Convention on Human Rights has not served as well. I think the time has come where we do detach ourselves as a nation, as a country, from some of these institutions who are just reaching the wrong conclusions time and again.
Matthew, what do you think?
Well, Germany have said they wouldn't detain Benjamin Netanyahu. Viktor Orban in Hungary has said they wouldn't detain Benjamin Netanyahu. Let's remember, Benjamin Netanyahu, a democratically elected Prime Minister of a country, Yoav Gallant, a democratically elected member of that government, and the leader of Hamas, the leader of a terrorist group. Three people that the ICC now has said issued arrest warrants for. Let's just get back to the basics. The ICC was effectively set up in most people's mind to prevent anything like the Holocaust ever happening again and hold those people to response. What happened on October the 7th was the largest killing of Jews in peacetime since the Holocaust. And now they're turning against the Jewish leadership. I don't understand this. And what I find really disturbing is we are led currently in the UK by a man who is obsessed with the rules, who was a international human rights lawyer, as he keeps reminding us, and so has instantly gone, well, we're going to stick with the rules, we're going to stick with the international court, we'll back them and things like that. I mean, it was interesting that Yvette Cooper yesterday, when she was going around doing the news, wasn't able to say whether the UK would or wouldn't. It wasn't in her jurisdiction as the Home Secretary for some reason.
I'd be very interested to know from Keir Starmer what specific war crimes he thinks that have been committed here as well, and by whom. Yeah. I think that's a very interesting question for him as well. Let's take a call from Linda in Dorset. She's giving me a ring on 0344 499 1000. Linda, you're very welcome to the programme. First caller of the programme today. What would you like to say?
Hi, I'm sorry, it's not about what you've been talking about.
That's okay, that's all right, Linda. That's okay.
I can't believe what I've read. The UK pledged 239 million in funding to help forest-rich nations tackle climate change. It will go to Colombia, Indonesia, and I'm sat here in my freezing cold flat with two dressing gowns on and fluffy socks because I can't keep warm.
Listen, Linda, I think there are a lot of people who will ask much the same question. It comes into farming as well. We're developing all sorts of countries with farming where climate change is a big issue. There are lots and lots of money from international aid and so on. And it's a perfectly legitimate question from Linda, isn't it, Matthew?
No, Linda, you're completely right. I mean, you know, when we talk about farming, we're going to send £16 million to help farmers in Rwanda grow tea. So it's a completely fair question to ask. We need to be spending this money here at home. Everything about the climate change budget, everything about the foreign aid budget, I am sure that there is a silent majority out there in the country who say, actually, do you know what? That needs to go on pause, because right now we need to focus on people here in Britain. We need to back British farmers. We need to put Britain first. We need to look after our country. I'm sorry, but I completely agree with you, Linda. There is no reason why you should be staying in your home cold this winter, with pensioners getting their winter fuel payments cut as well, and yet we're going to hand this money out around the world and see nothing in return.
Linda, stay where you are just for a second, because I want to get the opinion of Simon Danczyk as well on all of this. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, no, I agree with Linda. And what we've seen in recent days is Ed Miliband out at COP29 as Azerbaijan, making grand statements.
With 400 others. They care so much about climate change, they sent more than 400 people from the UK government, civil servants and ministers to Baku, to Azerbaijan, to talk about climate.
Absolutely, and I put that out on social media. It's an absolute disgrace, all paid for by British taxpayers. That's the reality of it. And so you've got Ed Miliband out there making grandiose statements about handing out British taxpayers' money to developing countries. It's just not acceptable. Linda is absolutely right on this. We need to look closer to home on these issues, particularly at these times. Ed Miliband is a major problem in this Labour government, and he's taking the whole country in the wrong direction. Absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever.
Linda, what do you make of what you've heard from Simon and Matthew?
Yeah, we need to really speak up about this now because it's getting out of hand. It's ridiculous.
Now then, we've been talking about Alison Pearson this week, the Telegraph journalist who was visited by the police for a tweet that she sent. Now, she alleged that she was told it was a non-crime hate incident. The police service involved that has actually dropped the case now, says that they didn't say that and they have body-worn footage, blah, blah, blah. But the point is that it's brought into focus the non-crime hate incidents and what they are and whether they should exist and what they're for, really. And what's interesting now is that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, is thinking of expanding them, which I find a bit strange. Tell us what you know about this, Matthew.
Well, I mean, welcome to 1984. You know, we've nearly at 12 days of Christmas and we've had 12 months of chaos under Labour and it's not even been 5 months yet. I mean, this is just ridiculous. So a non-crime hate incident, it says it on the tin, it's not a crime.
Yes.
But the police will have to take the time to sit there and do paperwork and log it and understand how you felt offended and what you would like them to do about it and all that sort of thing. It's a brilliant waste of police time and we need them out there catching criminals. But then don't forget, criminals can't be sentenced to jail because those are all filled up with people who are angry on Twitter and Facebook. It's utterly ridiculous.
Simon, the expansion of non-crime hate incidents, especially after the week that we've had, tell us what your thoughts on this.
Home Secretary's thinking, don't you? But on this, I am just completely puzzled. And the general public will take the view, if it's a crime, it should be policed. If it's not a crime, as in these cases, it shouldn't be policed. You do get a sense that the Home Secretary, a Labour Home Secretary, is really playing to the Muslim vote. It's trying to pacify them to show that the police will take action if somebody says something against Islam or somebody says
But the point was that yesterday we had a story, Simon, perhaps you saw it, about what I thought was totally open and shut, about an imam in London who was talking about, who was saying destroy Jewish people's houses, and that was 2 weeks after the 7th of October. Yet the police said there was nothing to see here. They have reviewed it and have now sent a file to the Crown Prosecution Service. But it falls into what a lot of people will believe is two-tier policing.
Oh, two-tier policing, two-tier justice system. There is no doubt about that. And if anything's been proven since July of this year, it is that the two-tier policing justice system is being enlarged, not reduced. And perhaps this is another example of it, where you've got the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, expanding this idea of non-hate crimes, taking up more police time on incidents that are just not important to real people's lives. It's a major concern for everybody in the country, really.
Well, if I just go through a couple of examples as well. So one incident was after a person refused to shake hands with a victim perceived to be hate-related due to gender identity. Another was a rough haircut reported by a customer who claimed his barber was aggressive following a discussion about the Ukrainian war. Well, I've got a couple to report. I feel offended by someone lying on their CV who holds a very important position in this country.
I feel offended by your little beard.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. What also about Dawn Butler's comments about when Kemi Badenoch was elected leader of the Conservative Party? Is that a non-crime hate incident, or is that just pure racism?
Dawn Butler tweeted that it was that Kemi Badenoch was the black face of white supremacy, which to me strikes me as, I don't know, a little bit racist.
Still silence.
A little bit on the old racist side there. Yeah, I mean, I just think this expansion is a bit silly. Let's talk about the weather a little bit. Storm Bert set to batter the UK this weekend. Simon, which part of the UK are you in? Are you in London or where are you?
Yeah, no, I'm in London. I'm in Pimlico, Westminster, and it's fair to say that the storm clouds are coming in. They're advancing over Westminster, and I don't know if that's a political metaphor as well as a reflection on the weather.
We know the flights have been disrupted at Newcastle Airport in the northeast. Storm Bert bring heavy snow there. The airport's online departure board showing many flights set to depart this morning have been delayed. The 9:30 British Airways service to Heathrow has been cancelled. Clear travel chaos here is sort of the main thing that people are suffering as a result of this, as well as just a lot of people, like Linda we heard earlier, Teresa who was on this week as well, lots of reaction to that. It is just very cold and a lot of people are feeling it.
Well, winter's here. Winter's here, temperatures dived. I think next week, ironically, it's supposed to peak back up again to like the teens or something. It's really weird. Climate change, clearly we do need to spend that money. The main thing is just be careful, right? Be careful. Don't take a journey unless it's really, really necessary. You know, be careful. I know you've got your flight later. I just wanted to, there's a 10-hour warning going out, okay?
Really?
And it's covering parts of Angus, Perth, Kinross, Stirlingshire, Aberdeenshire, some of the Highlands, Argyll and Bute. So please be careful.
Okay.
The most important thing is, you know, these warnings are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Listen to them. Take the advice that's there. Good luck with your flight later on.
I'm going to talk to Simon Calder. Will be here a little bit later on in the programme. I'm going to ask his advice whether I should should fly to Belfast today or not. I think he's going to say no, unfortunately. Speaking of the island of Ireland, I wonder if you've seen this story, both of you. This is about an Irish publican who's claimed his pub is enjoying loads of business after he has banned Zionist customers. We're going to talk about this with Gary Mond in a minute or two, but this is the Celtic Marine Bar in Bundoran in County Donegal, a picturesque town on the Atlantic coast. Put up a sign last week saying all Zionists are barred from the Celtic Marine Bar. Stop the genocide, free Palestine. Simon, your thoughts on this?
I think that's a big mistake on his part. It's no way to do business, never mind to be sociable and run a hospitality venue. Good luck to him, but I think it's a big mistake and totally unnecessary, really.
We'll be talking about it a little bit later on with Gary Mond, is coming on the other side of the news. But let's talk about the issue with the monarchy, because we now know from the Daily Star, no less, that £72 million was spent on the coronation, a waste. The Star says it could pay for 2,057 nurses at £35,000 a go. It could pay for the 14.5 of the banana duct tape to a wall, costing £4.9 million. What do you make? Was the coronation worth it?
Well, that reminds me,
Matthew?
I need to pop to the shops to buy some bananas later. It's a great investment piece.
Probably not 4.9 million.
It's fantastic.
I will not be.
Look,
buying them off you.
I don't think it was a waste. I think, look, firstly, it's 0.003% of the entire £2.27 trillion UK economy, so it's the tiniest of percentage. Also, I get it, I understand it. As soon as we find out how much something costs, we can make all sorts of comparisons. You know, I could sit here and go, oh, it's 360,000 winter fuel payments for pensioners of £200. You know, I could do that. But the fact is, actually, if we go back to what the coronation was, it was a really, really good week. It was a wonderful time where communities came together. I, as a local councillor, we had street parties all across the borough. People were coming together from all sorts of walks of life, and everyone was sharing stories. It was the first coronation that people had seen in lives. You know, it was a really, really good week. I completely get that we can have hindsight, you know, everything like everyone's doing about COVID. We can all say, what if, we could have. But actually, it was a coronation. We are a monarchy in this country. I support the royal family. I think they're a fantastic part of what makes this country Britain. You know, 72 million quid when, you know, you
think it was money well spent?
I think it was.
Simon, money well spent?
Money well spent. I think it's not just about the king, although he's important to it. It's about the coronation, about our constitution, and about the country coming together to celebrate what we stand for. I think it's a good investment.